Welcome to the next episode of Chronic Briefs. Next episode? That doesn't sound right. A new episode. Yes, welcome to a new episode of Chronic Briefs. Yes, much to the chagrin of pretty much everyone, I guess. Yes, we are back yet again. We just can't seem to stop. Weird. Anyway, today we're going to talk about something that everyone with chronic illness deals with, and a lot of people who don't have chronic illness as well. Medication. Yes. Your pills, your injections, your powders, your lotions, your tinctures, and yes, your edibles. Anyone who has any medical issues probably gets prescription meds. Some estimates put it as high as 50% of the American population. But the thing is, chronic illness patients have a very unique relationship with medications. It's kind of a frenemy situation, or you might call it a love/hate relationship, or if you will, really it's more accurate to say that it's a hate/some days you hate it slightly less relationship. Yeah, so let's get into it. Medications. Medications are a necessity for those who suffer with rheumatoid arthritis or any other chronic illness. And first, the good news. In the last 20 years or so, the landscape of chronic illness meds has been completely upended by biologics. These are meds that block different parts of the body's own immune system to help curtail the effects of autoimmune disease and chronic illness. Yeah, they've been a total game changer for some patients, and more are released every year. Unfortunately, that's about where the good news ends when it comes to chronic illness medication, because figuring out what medicine will work for what disease and what patient is virtually impossible to do without trying it. Yeah, it's true. With all of the medical advances we have made in recent years and all the amazingly smart and talented people working in the pharmaceutical research industry, still, the best way to find out what medication works best for a certain patient's chronic illness is trial and error. Yeah, that's what we came up with. Now, I want to make sure everyone understands exactly what that means. Imagine you were diagnosed with, say, diabetes, right? And you went to your favorite doctor and said, "Doc, I have diabetes. What should I take?" And instead of your doctor saying, "Well, obviously some derivative of insulin," he says, "Well, actually, guess what? You've won a free spin on the wheel of medications." Yeah. Spin the wheel, and whatever med it lands on is what we'll try first. Now, remember, there's no guarantee that any of these will actually even work at all, but we have to start somewhere, so get on up there and spin that wheel. Yeah. You'd be like, should you be practicing medicine or hosting a game show? Yeah, but that is exactly what it's like for millions of chronic illness patients out there. They go and see the doctor, and instead of walking out with medication and a plan, they walk out with a hearty handshake and a "we'll see what happens over the next 6 months." Chronic illness patients do not have the luxury of having an accepted medication for any given condition. Diabetes, most cancers, leukemia, Lyme disease, all have an accepted treatment regimen that works to either curtail or cure. But chronic illness instead just has a menu of choices for you to try a little bit of each and see what you like the worst tapas restaurant that ever existed. Yeah, there's not even an accepted order to try the meds in. It all comes down to the individual physician and their best guess. That's the best we can hope for, that our physician's most proficient educated guess will bring us some relief. Now, I say some because chronic illness medication is like buying a used car. It might not get you all the way where you need to go, and it certainly isn't going to be comfortable. And you know what? It sure as hell isn't going to last very long. But in the end, it's the best you can do. And we take it. We take it happily just to get a modicum of relief, because even a half-assed solution is better than constant pain. Now, assuming that you've actually found a medication that somewhat works for your illness, that's not the end of the story. No, most illnesses, you take a medication as directed, and eventually the promise is the illness goes away or is kept at bay as long as you take your pills. Well, that is not so with chronic illness. You see, actually, taking a chronic illness medication is like playing poker with the mob. Ho, ho, ho! Even if you win, buddy, you ain't walking away scot-free, I'll tell you that. Yeah, even when you find a medication that works, it's still a crapshoot. every day as to whether or not the medicine is going to have a big effect, like a nuclear bomb, or a lesser effect, like putting metal in the microwave. Yeah, just because you found something that brings you some relief doesn't mean it's going to work every single day. What other illness has medication that works about the same amount as a teenager jockeying the fry-later at McDonald's? Yeah, it's ridiculous. But that's the efficacy chronic illness patients not only accept, but we shoot for. And why? Because things can get much, much worse. Yeah, we're going there. Buckle up. Now, anyone who has suffered chronic illness for any prolonged amount of time knows about the 1.5-year rule. Now, for those of you who don't, let me break it down like this. Just like my marriage, most chronic illness medications start to lose their luster after about 1.5 years and eventually end up not working at all. Yes, it's true. It's a phenomenon that many chronic illness patients are familiar with, and we all dread that 18-month deadline when things almost inevitably take a turn. Oh, and again, like my marriage, once a medication hits the point where it doesn't work anymore, you can almost never go back and take it again. Yeah, once it's done, it's done. Now, personally, I think the immune system of those with chronic illness and autoimmune disease adapts, and it takes the body about 1.5 years to figure out that they probably shouldn't have ever gotten married in the first place, but things were so good at the time. I mean, who knew? Who knew? What I mean is that the immune system learns how to beat the medication. Yes. Now, I've been told by my doctors I'm crazy and that it's impossible. And I've been told by patients that I'm a genius, and that's probably exactly what's happening. So you decide. But here's the thing. Even if you find a medication that only works for 1.5 years, you're still ahead of the game. Why? Because yet again, it can get even worse. Yes, just like one of those health food bowls, there's another layer of unpleasantness below this one. Idiopathic. Sounds like it can mean one of two things. A dopey serial killer or a medical term. Well, it's the latter, a medical term. But really, it's probably closer to the former, a dopey killer. Why? Well, idiopathic is just a fancy medical way of saying we got no freaking idea. Yeah. So some people with chronic illnesses have things like idiopathic chronic inflammation, or idiopathic inflammatory arthritis, or even idiopathic neurological deficiency. But really all that means is we have no idea what's causing your symptoms. Yeah, just like The Walking Dead, it's causing you pain and it won't end, but no one seems to know why anymore. So you can imagine what having an illness without even a name might do to your chances of finding a medication that will work. Yeah, exactly. You're pretty much out of luck. I mean, your physician will throw some stuff at the wall and see what sticks, but chances are anyone with an idiopathic chronic illness is out of luck. But, I can't believe I'm saying this again, but just like your aunt's mysterious 9-layer clam dip, there's one more layer at the bottom and it's awful. Orphan diseases. Orphan diseases, which are very often chronic illnesses. Now, they're called orphan diseases not because they're cute and they're cuddly and you just want to take them home, but because no one will take responsibility for them, especially Big Pharma. Yeah, awful name, right? Well, having one's even worse because there are so few people with orphan diseases that there's no money in developing a medicine for it. We all know the old saying from the pharma industry, if it won't pay the bills, there ain't going to be any pills. Yeah, and pretty much that's what happens. If you happen to be unlucky enough to end up with an orphan disease or chronic illness, you are SOL. And that doesn't mean super outstandingly lucky, I'll tell you that. It's a shame, but I never thought I'd be grateful that I was diagnosed with one of the bourgeois chronic illnesses. But here I am, living the pharma high life with rheumatoid arthritis and its myriad of drugs, while peasant diseases like cystic fibrosis have to make do with 2 or 3, if that. Ridiculous. There are so many other issues, too, dealing with medication. We haven't even touched on the epic battles we fight each day with the insurance companies or any of that, but that's going to have to wait for the next video. Just remember, having a chronic illness means if you are lucky enough to get one that has a few different medications available, you still only get 60 to 70% relief on a good day and probably only for a few years. Yeah, that's life with chronic illness medications. It just is. Anyway, that's a wrap for episode 5 of Chronic Briefs. As always, be kind, rewind, keep on taking those pills, and we'll talk soon. Hi, yes, I'd like to talk to Idiopathic Charlie, the dopey serial killer. What? That's not what that means?